All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating model for protecting what might be our single most important cognitive asset, our intention. And we're going to look at it not as some vague wish, but as a precise mathematical vector inside what this framework calls our personal cognitive operating system.
Okay, so let's jump right in with a pretty fundamental question. We usually think of our intention as what we want to do, but what if that's not the whole picture? This framework challenges us to think about our intention as something much more concrete, like the absolute directional bearing of our entire being.
So, in this model, it's called the Quantum Governance Cognitive Operating System, or QGCOS for short. Intention is not a fuzzy feeling, it's defined as a cognitive vector. Just think of it like the true north of your mind. It's the final output of all your internal calculations, and it shows what your system is actually mathematically optimizing for, whether you even realize it or not. So let's really explore this. What happens when we stop treating intention like a mood and start treating it with the precision of physics as a vector with a very clear direction?
To really get a grip on this, the system uses this brilliant analogy. They call it the laser pointer theorem, and it really raises the stakes. So imagine your life's ultimate purpose is a target millions of miles away, and your intention is the laser pointer you're using to hit it.
Now, this is where it gets really mind-bending. Look at the contrast here. A pure intention, one that's perfectly aligned with the source, that's a straight line, a perfect shot. But the moment your intention is deviated, even by a microscopic, tiny little angle because of your ego or because you're seeking some reward, that tiny shift, when you compound it over the massive distance of a lifetime, means you are guaranteed to completely miss the target. It's not a small miss, it's a total miss. And the result of that miss? It's a mathematical certainty. The entire journey generates zero essence. In this model, essence is the lasting, meaningful value you produce. So think about that. Despite all the effort, all the energy spent, the net output of the entire journey is a big fat zero.
Okay, so this brings us to the core engineering problem we have to solve inside our own heads. What is causing these tiny yet catastrophic deviations in the first place?
So what is it that's knocking our laser off target? Is it just bad luck? Some external force? According to the QGCOS framework, nope. The problem isn't out there, it's in here. We're talking about internal bugs, specific computational threats that are running on our own mental hardware. And this framework gets very specific. It identifies two of these primary threats, and it gives them names you might have heard before, Iblis and Shaitan. But, and this is absolutely crucial, we have to reframe them. This model treats them not as external monsters, but strictly as internal algorithms and system states that corrupt our cognitive vector from within. All right, so let's tackle the first threat head-on. Let's look at how this buildup of internal bias actually works to bend our intention away from its target. So, the first threat, Iblis, is modeled as our own built-in susceptibility to make mistakes. Think of it like a constant adversarial test that's always running against our cognitive vector. It acts like a bias matrix, a process that's always on in the background, continuously distorting our perception of reality. It's like trying to see straight while looking through a warped funhouse mirror. And this chart is just a brilliant illustration of the four distinct directions this internal bias attacks from. From the front, it gets us with wishful thinking about the future. From the back, it traps us with sunk cost bias, making us cling to the past. From the right, it inflates our ego with a kind of fake piety. And from the left, it pushes for raw material gain at the expense of any and all discipline. Now here's the thing. If that Iblis bias matrix is left to run unchecked, if you don't do anything about it, it can escalate and trigger a much, much more severe system failure. Okay, so this distinction is incredibly important to get right. Iblis is the potential for bias. It's the latent capacity to get things wrong. It just bends the vector. But Shaitan, that's the actual state you enter when you willfully give in to that bias over and over. It's the difference between having a vulnerability in your software and having your entire system crash. Once the system enters that Shaitan state, it's like a hard, impenetrable eggshell forms around your core processor. This state acts as a total blocker. It completely cuts the system off from any incoming truth or guidance. And this right here is the critical outcome. When that firewall goes up, your system can't receive any new external objective data. You get trapped, recycling your own distorted perceptions and biases in a feedback loop.
You're literally running on your own faulty code in a world illuminated only by your own distorted light.
So that sounds pretty bleak, right? A warped perception that can lead to a total system crash. But the framework doesn't just define the problem. It also proposes a powerful built-in solution to defend the integrity of our intention. And that solution is NAIR, the Neural Ethical Reasoning Engine. You can think of it as your own personal active security firewall. It's the system designed specifically to counter that Iblis perturbation matrix and, most importantly, to prevent your system from ever crashing into the shaitan state. So what's its job? Well, its main function is to run a constant, active audit of your entire cognitive state. It's like having the best antivirus program you can imagine, running 24/7, always scanning for those malicious lines of code, those cognitive biases that are trying to deviate your intention. And here's the really cool part. When Nuri detects a significant deviation, it doesn't just send you a little warning notification. It deploys a full-on system reset protocol, known in this framework as TABA. You can think of it computationally like running a function, perform_TABA. And this protocol is a clean, systematic purge. First, NER flags the attack. Second, the agent executes the reset. Third, all those failure states are zeroed out, wiped clean. Fourth, that dangerous eggshell firewall gets smashed to pieces before it can fully form. And fifth, the intention vector is recalibrated right back to its original true north trajectory. And again, this isn't a one-time fix. It's a continuous process of self-correction. So when you boil it all down, what's the ultimate takeaway here? Protecting your intention isn't a passive state you achieve. It's an active process. It requires continuous algorithmic discipline. It means you're consciously running your internal security system, your neural ethical reasoning engine, non-stop to filter out those threats. And this brings us right back to the beginning. This whole framework really leaves us with one final powerful question we have to ask about our own internal operating systems. If we were to look at the hard data of our lives, our decisions, our focus, where our energy goes, what would the math say we are truly aiming for?